Hi everybody, I'm Jack. This is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. Hope everybody has a good weekend out there. Had a good weekend by the time you're watching this. Sunday morning when I'm shooting this, and Nate didn't give us too much trouble in these parts. Wasn't a very big hurricane. I guess we were kind of outside of the zone where it hit, and didn't even get the amount of rain and stuff that we were expecting. So that's a good thing. I was kind of prepared to be without power a good bit today. So wanted to start the week off talking about raw vegan self-love, raw vegan and self-love. What am I going to talk about here? Isn't this a little bit out of my skill set? Well, you'll have to see. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that subscribe button now. Click on the little bell and check send notifications so you'll stay subscribed to the channel. Raw vegan and self-love, self-love, self-love. I'll tell you, ever since I don't know, in the beginning, and it's still a little bit strange, ever since I've been doing this raw vegan lifestyle, there's always been this talk, there's always been this association, people talking about self-love, self-love, love yourself, self-love. It's a real concept out there. I know I've seen channels that are pretty much all about that. It's kind of been an odd concept to me. It's not something I can really relate to, as if anything, I probably love myself a little too much. I don't know if that's a byproduct of being an only child or what. I mean, I'm not overboard. It's not like I think I'm the greatest thing in the world or anything like that. But yeah, self-love has just always seemed common sense to me. It just seems natural. It just seems logical. It just seems really how the way things should be. But I guess there's so many people that struggle with that out there. And I don't even, I'm trying to get into the thought process of somebody that doesn't have, self-love or whatever, and think of maybe where they're coming from. And I guess, there's feelings of not deserving, not being worthy, like I'm not good enough. And then there's some weird psychology too, which I've always noticed with certain people that have come and gone through my life. And that's the martyr complex. And that's the people that kind of like to suffer. So, I don't know. Like I say, this is kind of some new ground. And before I decided to do this video, I bopped around on the internet. I watched a couple of videos on this. I read what other people had to say. I took a snippet here and there just so I could kind of, just try to understand this whole thing. One of the things that I would offer to people, if you struggle with self-love, if you have a problem loving yourself, in fact, some people actually loathe themselves, hate themselves, and that can, that's a whole different psychology. That can, self-hate can manifest itself in all kind of destructive behavior, whether it's drugs, alcohol, food. So, all this stuff, these emotions and the food is kind of tied in together. One of the things, if you do have a hard time with self-love, is you just really need to understand. I don't want to come at this from this like nice feel-good type thing, because that's not really my vibe. I'm more of a logical approach, and will do something because it just makes sense more than, oh, well, that's sweet, and let's just all love each other and all that kind of esoteric stuff. When we love ourselves, that strengthens us. We're a stronger person, and when we love ourselves, we take better care of ourselves. And what better expression of self-love is there than this raw vegan lifestyle, than what we put into our bodies? Okay, not necessarily, and like I say, not getting into, if you don't put raw vegan, you don't have self-love into your body, but that is a mighty good example of it right there. If you're not a raw vegan, just by putting good plant-based food into your body, by putting good things into our body, that is probably, to me, the highest form of expression of self-love that we can have. The practical aspect of self-love, and this might speak to those people that are always, like, some people are almost obsessed to the point, I don't want to say of it becoming a negative, but some people are almost over-focused on always doing something for somebody else, sometimes to the point of it being a little obnoxious. But for the people that are always looking, always think, they're last. I'm thinking of mothers in this situation. Mothers are bad about being like that, putting everybody else ahead of themselves and not necessarily taking care of themselves. Now, what happens is when people tend to, put everybody ahead of themselves and totally ignore taking care of themselves, they're less effective at taking care of or showing an example to other people out there because you're a weaker person. When you're not when you're not practicing self-care, when you're not practicing self-love, you're not as strong as you could be. So by taking the best care of yourself, you're much more well equipped. You're much better to help other people out there and to offer, more to the world. I don't know. I hear this stuff all the time, and I can get actually a little snarky. I don't know. I'm a little bit snarky about things sometimes. I don't mean it in any bad way, but yeah, I mean, just self-love has just always seemed so just common sense. Like it shouldn't even be a phrase because it should just be like, well, yeah, duh. But like I say, I'm not going to pretend to know or even get into all the psychology that goes into it because, for every person out there that has a problem with loving themselves, there's probably a unique reason behind that. Or it's not everybody's story is the same. You may not have a completely unique circumstances, but there's always different things that brought people to that. I would just say it's kind of like it kind of reminds me of what they always tell you when you're on the plane, when they're giving the whole little safety spiel there, and they're talking about oxygen, and they're talking about if the cabin should become blah 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 pressurized, unpressurized, and oxygen should drop, the little mask will drop down, and they always tell you to be sure and secure your oxygen mask, put your oxygen mask on before you try to help someone else, before you try to help a child or an older person or somebody that needs help. You take care of yourself first to be stronger and more effective for others. And others can be personal, or it can be just like to the world. If you may not have a family, or you may not have a lot of people that you're responsible for, or you need to do things for in your day-to-day life, but we're better off. We like say for instance what I do, by doing videos or sharing stuff about the raw vegan lifestyle. I'm better, and I can offer more, and I can share more, and I can help more if I'm taking care of myself. Because if I'm taking care of myself, I'm better equipped to do that. And also too, people will pick up on that vibe. You can't help people if you don't love yourself. If you don't practice self-love at all, you're very ineffective at helping other people, because other people pick up on this. Other people can sense like there's a unsettled vibe about people that don't love themselves. They're, even the ones that do great things for other people and are very loving, there's just something that's not quite, that you can't put your finger on, but it's just like they're not a great example because they're not loving themselves. So even when you're practicing self-love, you're actually offering a good example to other people. So yeah, I mean, as I'm into this video, it's still a little perplexing to me. And I don't quite, it's almost like trying to tell people, and you can't do that. It's just like saying, well, go fix this, or go do this, or go think differently. So I try to tread lightly and be respectful of that, because people's psychology is their own psychology. You don't know how they came to it, and I don't know your circumstances, but it's just, we just can't be effective in life. We're less than if we're not practicing towards ourselves what we're trying to offer towards the world. I think a lot of people think of it as selfish, and that I know a lot of mamas like that as well. Like, mamas think they can't take anything for themselves. It's always like they've got to be doing for others. But as you're doing for others, if you let your organism, which is your body, wear down, because your body will wear down eventually with a lack of self-love. And I'm not talking all the woo-woo, oh, mental whatever. Your body will wear down from a lack of self-love, because if you truly don't have love for yourself, you're not going to take true care for yourself, and your body's not going to be at its potential. It's not going to be at its ultimate point of health. And eventually, you won't be as effective. So just practicing self-love, let's just say it's common sense. It's just like, just do it. It's practical. But then again, I guess I'm going to have to just kind of think on this subject more and more to try to understand it for myself, because I just, it's sad. It's sad, and it's also something like I don't get involved in the conversations a lot if I see a thread or something online, because I'm always a little afraid that I'm gonna be the big, kind of step on some toes and maybe say something insensitive, because I think when you're dealing with people that don't have a lot of self-love, you tend to be dealing with people that are a little bit more sensitive than your average person. And I'm not necessarily insensitive, but I'm kind of like that big dog, trotting through the house. I can inadvertently knock something over and break it, not meaning to. So I've always kind of steered clear of conversations and not tried to, say too much for fear that I would, just make the situation worse. But anyhow, I'm going to stop, because this is just kind of turning into a rambling video a little bit, isn't it? But if you don't take anything out of this, just realize you deserve to take care of yourself. You deserve to love yourself, and the only way that you're ever going to be happy and effective and beneficial to others is if you're showing that for yourself, because you can't express it to others if you don't express it for yourself. So anyhow, that's my take on it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Love you guys. Peace.